Hey guys, it's Celestia, and a million years ago, I made a video going over the best online resources for artists, both free and paid, for everything from pose and environment reference to full-fledged art courses. It was an okay video, I suppose, but it was also sorely lacking in any form of organization or structure, and I've found so many more since then that without those new resources included in the list, I don't think the title of Best Resources for Artists would really be accurate anymore. And as someone who constantly advocates for self-education because the vast, seemingly unending, and ever-growing number of resources available for artists online has empowered anyone who wants to learn to draw to do so with more ease than ever before, I think it's important to have a more up-to-date, cohesive video available for viewers to consult when seeking those resources out. And since I don't think that old video reflects the much wider array of art resources I know of now, I'm remaking it. So get ready for the new and improved Duchess Celestia brand art resource compilation video, where I'll share all of the best art resources I currently know of. That means reference photo sources, color palettes, 3D models, art courses, art mentorships, reliable tutorials, ebooks, brushes for digital art programs, even video games that can be easily used as reference tools, and so much more. Some of them you may know, while others may be hidden gems that you've never heard of before. But either way, I will hopefully be able to provide you with at least a few new tools to use for your art throughout the duration of the video. At least until another 3 years pass and I remake it again with new ones, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. As I mentioned earlier, my previous video compiling art resources was incredibly disorganized, which is a mistake I don't intend to make again. At least not that severely. This time around, I'll break all of the resources down into clearer, more structured categories, all of which will be chaptered, so you can skip to the ones that interest you, including pose references, background references, design references, color references, digital art brushes, and general educational tools. While I won't go into too much detail about each individual resource in an effort to keep this video from being 6 hours long, I will provide summaries of what they are, their most effective uses, in my opinion anyway, and whether they're free, paid, or somewhere in between. Every resource listed in the video will also be linked in the description in the same categories listed above, so that they're readily accessible to anyone interested in trying them out. But given the topic of the video, I thought it would be fitting to start it off with one of the best resources for artists that I know. Today's sponsor, Milanote. Many artists, myself included, tend to struggle with organization. It comes with the territory of having too many ideas, works in progress, references, and projects, and it often leaves the creative process feeling messy and overwhelming as a result. With Milanote, an incredibly versatile organizational tool that I personally swear by, you can change that by not just keeping all of those ideas in one place, but organizing them in a visually appealing way that makes sense to you using their wide array of tools and features. I use Milanote for every part of my job, from video researching to scripting to planning future art pieces, but the most recent board that's made a big difference for my productivity is the one that I made for my webcomic, Inside. As some of you know, I've been working on it for a long time, but I took a long hiatus from making it because life just got in the way. Recently, I've started work on it again, but getting back into it was more than a little daunting given how long it had been and how much there is to do, something that planning it on Milanote made infinitely easier. Over here, you can see my to-do list of tasks that need completing, organized into primary and secondary priorities so that I can keep track of what's urgent, what's done, and what not to forget. Beside it is a list of planned chapters by title, all of which I'm able to plan much more easily by using the subboard beside it to summarize what each one should include. There's another subboard here to store my work in progress chapter sketches, which is empty as you may notice because I haven't finished the sketches yet. But don't worry, Milanote lets you leave yourself little notes and even doodle directly on your boards, so I was able to leave myself a very subtle reminder to stop procrastinating. On the right, I've got all of the files I need for the comic, including all of the currently finished chapters, secret behind-the-scenes patron-only content like floor plans, playlists, and more, assets like the protagonist's character sheet, the comic's cover and end page, and logo, and even in-depth design guidelines with everything from preferred fonts to color palettes. It lets me keep everything I've already made for the comic in one place, so I don't end up losing the files like I always did before. Finally, down here, we have a few subboards of my references and inspirations for the comic, organized into paneling inspiration for formatting ideas and vibes inspiration, for lack of a better word, for general aesthetics and visual metaphors. Mood boards like these are easily created using Milanote's web clipper tool, which allows you to save images from any site directly to your boards, making reference gathering so much easier. All of these subboards were so easy to make that it was legitimately fun, and that's in large part due to the wide variety of templates they offer as starting points for pretty much any kind of creative project that you can imagine. With the ability to easily drag and drop everything from columns, lists, and links like these to where my comic is hosted, to hand-drawn doodles and notes that add a personal touch to your boards, all of which can be easily shared with and edited by anyone you choose, Milanote makes streamlining the creative process easier than ever, which is precisely why I swear by them as the best organizational resource out there for artists and creatives of any kind. And best of all, it's completely free. No time limit, no free trial, it's just straight up free forever cheaper, and ready for you to try out right now. So why wait? Sign up for a free Milanote account using the link in the description and start your next creative project there today. Thank you so much to Milanote for sponsoring today's video, and please go check them out. They would be on this list of resources whether they were a partner of the channel or not, because I sincerely can't recommend them enough. But that's just the beginning. I can only hope you're ready to have even more art resources thrown at you with Buddy the Elf rapid-fire snowball throwing precision, because that's what's gonna happen. And to start that off, let's look at resources for references, since finding the right ones is not only immensely important, but also something a lot of artists struggle with more and more these days now that AI-generated images are inundating most of the platforms we used to find them on. Gone are the days when you could just search Google or Pinterest for what you're looking for and find real reference images to consult. Now the search results are swimming with AI art that ranges from very obvious to very difficult to identify, making the reference gathering process a lot more difficult. If you're married to Google as your reference source but you don't want AI-generated images clogging up your results, you can always search specifically for images uploaded before 2022, as that weeds the majority of them out. But if you'd rather seek out alternatives instead, trust me when I say I've got you covered. Before continuing though, quick disclaimer. As of scripting this in the summer of 2024, to my knowledge, the resources I'm about to list are as AI-free as I could find. That may very well change in time, and if it's brought to my attention that it does for any of them, I will provide warnings and updates reflecting that in the comments and exclude them when I inevitably remake this video in another 3 years to include all of the new resources I've found by then. Anyway, moving on, let's start with pose reference, one of the most widely sought after types of references out there given how annoying anatomy is and how helpful having accurate material to consult when drawing it is. The first that I've heard many recommend and have used extensively myself is Magic Poser, a fantastic app that's available for free on both iOS and Android that allows you to pose an extensive library of different 3D models however you want, even allowing you to adjust the light source's color and intensity as well as add more as needed, add multiple models to the same scene, and view them from any angle or perspective you choose. If you don't want to pose the models yourself, you can also browse their wide library of user-made poses to find a pre-made option that works for you, which is made even easier since they're organized into categories like sitting, standing, running, and so on. Certain features require either a Pro or Master subscription, like adding unlimited models, using premium 3D assets, and so on. And that does cost money, but the Pro membership is a flat one-time fee of about $10, and the Master subscription is about $15 a month. So those options are still relatively affordable if you find that those features are appealing to you. DesignDoll is a good alternative for anyone not using an Apple or Android device, which is a similar 3D model posing program that's equally versatile, but on PC. It's free as well, and while you can pay the relatively hefty one-time fee of $79 to get a Pro license and access to even more features like models and poses from their Doll Atelier site, the free version is more than useful enough to suit most artists' purposes. Similarly, the Clip Studio Paint asset store offers just as wide a variety of 3D models. Wider, actually, since the models you can download and consult for reference include everything from people to objects to environments to entire scenes. These, naturally, can only be used in Clip Studio Paint, to my knowledge anyway, in which you can edit and pose them to your heart's content. But they're very much worth mentioning even if they are limited to one program, since they're so useful that I know many artists use CSP just to be able to access them. They have both free and paid options available, and such an extensive library of each that there's pretty much no chance that you won't find whatever it is you're looking for there, so it's more than worth checking out. The only thing I do want to warn you about when it comes to these 3D model posers and any like them, though, is that because you can change and maneuver the model's bodies however you like, you run the risk of putting them in poses that a real human being could never physically be in, leaving you with unrealistic references that do not reflect the capabilities of a real human body. They're also a little stiffer by default than photo references of real human beings, so both of those shortcomings should be taken into consideration when utilizing them to create custom references for yourself. One exception I found to this would be Figurosity, a site that does utilize 3D models to provide pose reference, but doesn't let you yourself maneuver and edit them, eliminating any possibility of you putting them in a physically impossible or anatomically inaccurate position. They offer a massive library of pre-made poses and versatile models with a ton of different body types that, while uneditable, can be viewed from a multitude of different angles and with 360-degree rotation, providing you with very high-quality references that, while not customizable, are very likely to still be incredibly useful. It's free and web-based, meaning that you neither have to pay nor download anything to use it, but there are paid options available if you want to unlock more features for very affordable prices. Figurosity also offers a random pose generator and the option to have that pose disappear after a set amount of time, which means that not only can you use their set poses for reference for specific pieces that you already have in mind, you can either find inspiration for new ideas with randomly generated poses, or use them and the timed system to improve your figure drawing skills with timed gesture drawings. If you can't find what you're looking for there, you can also check out posemaniacs.com, which is similar in that it offers pre-posed 3D models specifically designed to be used as art reference, and also doesn't allow you to edit them, meaning there's no chance of of accidentally ending up with an anatomically impossible reference. It's completely free, and you can filter your pose search by the gender of the model and the type of pose you're looking for, with categories like magic posers including everything from sitting and running to performing certain actions or playing specific sports. Each posed model can be flipped, rotated from any angle, and have customizable light sources applied to them, so once you find the right one for your piece, you can view it in whatever way you need. Many of these are also compatible with SPEEDPAINT as well, which is a handy bonus for artists who use it. Finally, before I move on from 3D reference resources for poses, I also want to mention Sketchfab. It's technically not supposed to be a reference resource for artists at all, but rather a site on which to purchase 3D assets and models. That, however, has never stopped me from making use of it as reference anyway, because it still essentially serves as a massive library of 3D models that can be moved around and viewed from any angle. While you can't pose these models or edit them in any way without buying them, which limits their usefulness as pose reference to a degree, you can still search for pre-posed models that suit what you're looking for, and then rotate them to view each one from any angle that you'd like. I use these a lot for face studies from different angles by rotating 3D head models, but you can find anything from heads and faces to fully formed and posed characters to animals and objects, all of which can usually be rotated and viewed without needing to buy them. You can buy them for more versatility, both in terms of posing for reference and actual use in a wide variety of settings, but you don't need to if all you want is the visual reference that you can get from each model's preview. Now that we've gone over the best 3D pose reference resources I know, let's look at your options for photo references of real humans. If you're looking for online tools similar to those we've discussed already, you might be interested in Line of Action, a site that lets you search for and browse photo references of real people in the same way that the others did with 3D models. They're known primarily for providing randomly posed references alongside a customizable timer before they disappear, just like Figurosity, for the purpose of gesture drawing, but they also provide a searchable library of photo references of people in a variety of different poses, all of which include 360-degree views. This library is, to my knowledge, completely free to access, as are their gesture drawing resources, but there are paid options that allow ad-free viewing and access to a variety of other features as well. If you're just looking for faces though, referenceangle.com is definitely your best bet. It lets you pose a 3D model of a head in the position that you want your reference to be in, set your search parameters like the gender of the model, the expression on their face, their age range, and even whether they're wearing glasses or have open eyes or mouths, and then compiles a massive list of results that match those parameters. Whether it's used for studies or as reference for your pieces, the usefulness of referenceangle.com can't be overstated, and it's also completely free, although you can and are encouraged to support the site's creators on Ko-fi if you use it and find it helpful. Adorka Stock, formerly known on DeviantArt as Senshi Stock, is another great option for searchable photo pose references, with a massive library of free poses of models with a variety of different inclusive body types, which can be searched through using filters for body type, pose type, angle and perspective, the action they're performing, the props they're interacting with, and even more. The vast majority of photos are in their public gallery and are free to view and use, but you can purchase early access to premium poses long before they're available there, and if you support them on Patreon, you can request custom poses and get access to 360-degree video references, as well as unreleased stock images that aren't available anywhere else. There are also plenty of resources out there in the form of pose reference photo packs, including everything from generic packs organized by the type of pose, like standing, sitting, and so on, to themed packs like fantasy, action, dynamic angle, and so on. Some options to look at include Graphic Studio on Gumroad, Reference.Pictures, and Rachel Bradley's resource page, all of which feature a wide variety of different very useful packs of pose reference photos for sale. Most, however, aren't free, although some offer free sample packs, but the vast majority are relatively affordable and frequently go on sale if you subscribe to their email mailing lists. MangaStudio.net is another great option for pose packs, with a variety of different affordable options for purchase with both themed and generic options. We'll also come back to them later for a different type of reference, but we'll get to that in a minute. If you want a free alternative though, you could check out artprof.org's free photo reference collection, which provides a huge Flickr library of images for use as reference, including everything from posed human figures to objects in nature to specific environments. All can be accessed and referenced for free, so long as proper credit to ArtProf is given when the artwork is posted. Finally, there are quite a few pre-drawn pose reference options out there, including free libraries of curated drawn poses on CharacterDesignReferences.com's visual library, which you should really check out for references of literally anything, from poses to environments to work of specific artists, as well as not free but very affordable ebooks of compiled drawn poses like those for sale on mastersofanatomy.com and posemuse.com, the latter of which I've personally purchased hard copies of books from because they're just that good, and also offers some free poses as well. Before I move on though, I want to mention that all of these different resources do have different policies on whether or not they allow their references to be traced that may be liable to change based on the creator's preferences in the future, and also have different policies when it comes to whether or not they want to be credited credited even if you just reference them and don't trace. It's important to check those out and make sure to honor those creators' wishes when using these resources, especially since they are liable to change and I subsequently can't state them here with certainty that they won't in time. Next up is environment and background reference, and several of the resources I've already mentioned provide that as well. Manga no Shiryo, in addition to selling photo pose reference packs, also sells photo environment reference packs, primarily of a variety of different locations and settings in Japan. They're a bit pricier at around 2,000 yen or roughly $20, but you can trace them at your discretion, and they usually include about 200 high-quality images, so I would personally say that that's worth the money. Similarly, if you don't want to draw a background at all, you can purchase pre-drawn manga backgrounds from Heikei Soko, which you're then free to use in your work. Prices do vary, but are usually quite cheap, and while they're black and white as per the manga format, I believe you're free to color them if you so choose. Mangamaterials.net also sells a few packs of these, though their selection is largely limited to traditional Japanese-style interiors. Other resources I've already mentioned include ArtProf's free photo reference collection, which provides a variety of different images of different settings and locations, in addition to their pose and object references, and the CharacterDesignReferences.com visual library, which has folders available that are dedicated to the same. Google Street View is another valuable free resource for finding real-world location references, so long as you have the patience to navigate it and find them. Sites like Pexels and Unsplash are exceptionally valuable free reference resources as well, especially as alternatives to sites like Pinterest that used to provide a wide variety of references for both poses and references, but is now completely inundated with AI-generated images. You can search either and find royalty-free reference images of environments, places, people, animals, objects, and pretty much anything imaginable, and at least as of writing this, neither of them allow AI-generated images, to my knowledge. They're great for specific reference and general inspiration alike, which makes browsing their content infinitely useful for artists of all kinds. Moving on, okay, this next one doesn't quite fit anywhere because it's a very niche type of reference, but because background reference and nature reference often go hand in hand, I'm putting it here. iNaturalist is a site that, while not designed for art reference in the slightest, but rather the goal of sharing pictures of wildlife and nature to help identify the plants and creatures in the photos, is inadvertently an excellent source of reference for art regardless. Because the plants and animals shared there are often elements that artists include in their backgrounds, I think it serves as a fantastic background reference source in its own right, by providing a wide variety of images depicting both, even if the reason that library exists is not for that purpose. It's completely free, but they do accept and encourage donations to keep the site running. Next, while it doesn't directly provide images for background reference, floorplancreator.com lets you plan your own backgrounds and settings by creating floor plans for them, as the name would suggest, and allows you one free floor plan project or the option to use paid plans to make more. It may not be photo reference, but it helps you establish the basis for your background if you're designing a specific location for yourself rather than referencing a real existing one. And on the topic of creating your own background reference rather than consulting existing photos or illustrations, let me introduce one of the weirder types of resources on this list: video games. As someone who has an unhealthily extreme addiction to Animal Crossing, I've played every iteration of the game for an inexcusable amount of time, and in doing so, I realized something handy. It's kind of perfect for designing environments for art. The main games make designing rooms specifically for that purpose a little difficult, since acquiring the items required to do so can be hard, and most people don't want to mess up their existing in-game houses just to design a room for art reference. But both Happy Home Designer and Happy Home Paradise allow you to decorate freely with unlimited items once you have them all unlocked, and without affecting your own home, allowing you the ultimate freedom to design any environment you can imagine. I used Animal Crossing Happy Home Paradise to design the Duchess Celestia bedroom/office that I used to put in the background of my videos behind my stills, as well as the apartment layout for my webcomic inside. Then I gave the screenshots of the latter to my wife, a huge Sims fan, who then used them to create that whole apartment in The Sims 4. Because The Sims is much more realistic in terms of item sizes, proportions, and general appearance, that house design she made for me provided an exceptional source of background reference for my comic, since it can be interacted with, edited, and viewed from any angle, so I can just launch the game and get a custom reference of whatever I need for the scene I'm working on whenever I want. It's unlimited. These aren't the only interior design games that have such untapped potential as art reference, but they're the best ones that I personally have experience with, and are severely underrated when it comes to their usefulness in that setting. If a game lets you design an environment, it basically lets you design your own art reference if you're creative about it. Most of these games aren't free, but they all also have entertainment value to be considered alongside their value as references, so they're worth looking into to see if their prices are worthwhile investments to you. But that's not the only way video games can be used as art reference. We're done with the background reference resources, yes, but we're not done with video games. games just yet. Let's talk about character design reference resources next. When it comes to character design and video games, there's just as much potential for custom references as there is for backgrounds and environments. I've been using a mobile game called Love Nikki, available on iOS and Android for free, for years now to create outfits and character designs both for fun and for use in my art, because it's a dress-up game that's primary focus is designing outfits, so there are a ridiculous number of clothing items, hair options, and accessories to choose from and apply to the model. You do have to play through the story to a degree to unlock them all, but it's worthwhile, in my opinion, to even just skip through it if you're not interested, just to get access to such an extensive library of potential fashion design items. Since the whole point of the game is, effectively, fashion design, it's incredibly useful to help you create custom character design references to take inspiration from in your own work. Similarly, Fashion Dreamer, another dress-up fashion design game that's currently only available on Nintendo Switch, is a great resource for the same reason. You can design characters with a wide variety of different clothing items and accessories, with the added benefit in this case of being able to pose the models in what's called the photo egg to get more dynamic references of what characters look like in those outfits. You also pass characters in outfits designed by the game developers and even other players if you're playing online, so you don't even need to actively design outfits yourself if you just want to find general vibes and inspirations from others. The clothing options are more limited than Love Nikki, but are still fantastic, and new ones are added regularly, so I think it's definitely a worthwhile buy. It is relatively expensive at roughly $70, but as a Switch game with entertainment value in addition to its potential for providing custom art references, it's at least worth looking into to see if you would find that to be worth the money, just like the games I mentioned earlier. Finally, before I move on, let me give you a couple more character design references that are free. Obviously, and I swear it's the last time I'll bring this one up, CharacterDesignReferences.com's visual library has an extensive variety of character design references available for free, as the name would suggest, available in the same area as the references we discussed already for poses and backgrounds. You can also check out Tokyo Fashion, a magazine dedicated to capturing street shots of cool outfits seen around Japan, particularly Harajuku. Their site has a huge library of those photos, and given how distinctive and unique Japanese street fashion is, there are a ton of really cool, inspirational outfits on there that might help inspire your character designs. Similarly, for tamer outfits that are less wild but just as visually appealing, you could check out the Sartorialist. It used to be a blog dedicated to capturing street fashion throughout New York, I think, to my knowledge, but the site that used to host it isn't working as of writing this. That said, its creator is still posting these fashion photos on Instagram, which displays them just as well, and provides a more toned down but equally inspirational source of potential character design references as Tokyo Fashion does. He also sells a book full of the same, linked alongside the Instagram in the description for anyone who wants to both support him and get access to even more fashion snapshots. The last category for reference resources is color, more specifically color palettes, for anyone struggling to find the right one for whatever they're drawing. This section won't be too long because I honestly don't think you need a ton of different resources for color palettes if you have the two that I'm gonna recommend, so let's talk about them. First up is Coolers, a random color palette generator that comes up with new palettes every time you press the spacebar, allowing infinite potential to find the perfect one even if it does take a minute. They also have a library of trending popular palettes that users of the sites have generated that you can browse, a tool that lets you generate color palettes based on your photos, and even a contrast checker so that you can plan how you use the colors within those palettes based on their values. I live and die for Coolers. It's a fantastic site, and I can't recommend it enough. I've gone on there to find a specific color palette for a specific piece, and ended up browsing it for an hour and making multiple new pieces inspired solely by palettes I found by accident that were so pretty that I felt like I needed to draw something with them. It's free as well, although you do have the option to get a pro membership for $4 a month, which allows you an ad-free viewing experience, palettes with more than 5 colors, palettes with color theory rules taken into consideration, and more. The other color palette reference resource I would recommend is Color Palette Cinema on Instagram, which takes particularly visually appealing scenes from movies and TV and generates color palettes based on the most prominent colors that appear in them. Not only does this provide you with a wide variety of potential color palettes to take inspiration from, it shows you the scenes that they're from and inadvertently gives you an example of how to use those colors together effectively in a scene. It's completely free, thoroughly inspirational, and incredibly helpful, so 10 out of 10 would recommend. I know people aren't saying that anymore. I'm old, okay? Alright, almost 10 pages into the script and we're just now finishing the reference resources, oh my god. I swear the rest won't be that long, it's just that reference resources are some of the most important ones for artists to use, so I wanted to give those the biggest spotlight. Next, let's look at brushes for digital art programs. First off, I should start with one I've already mentioned, the Clip Studio Paint Asset Store. Alongside the 3D models I've told you about before and a multitude of other tools, their asset store also hosts an extensive library of versatile brushes available for use in, obviously, Clip Studio Paint. Like the 3D models, there are free options and paid options, but even the latter are usually quite affordable. and they pretty much have a brush for any purpose if you have the patience to look through them all. This is limited to artists using CSP, of course, but is a very valuable resource for them, and also one that they probably already know about by nature of using CSP and having it promoted, so I won't dwell on it any longer than I already have. Next up is Sketch, the creator of the brushes that I personally use for literally everything. Sketching, line art, shading, smudging, all of it, except maybe the default airbrush tool I still use. They're absolutely incredible, I swear by them, and downloads even come with guides on how to use them most effectively. They're available for both Procreate and Photoshop, and while they're not free and are about $15 to $20 per brush pack, I sincerely believe that they're well worth the money. I do have an affiliate link for those in the description if you want to support me and Sketch and get the brushes, but they would be at the top of my recommended resource list regardless, simply because I use them for literally all of my art and I know exactly how good they are. That's why I got the affiliate link in the first place. If you're a Procreate artist like me and want more brushes for less money though, you should check out Librium Digital. They're a site dedicated to hosting and promoting free brush sets for Procreate, with everything from stamps and patterns to line art and sketching brushes and so much more. Librium doesn't make these brushes, but is instead a platform that provides individual artists with a place to share the ones that they've made with their users, which means the quality of the brushes found there can be a little inconsistent since anyone can share theirs on the site. But they are free, the library of them is huge, and I'm very confident that you can find at least a few that you'll love if you take the time to browse through them all. Finally, if you're looking for higher quality brushes and money is less of a concern, online marketplaces like Creative Market and ArtStation host extensive libraries of brushes for every type of drawing software out there, allowing you the option to filter by software and type of brush that you're looking for. They're usually anywhere between $2 to $40 depending on the number and quality of brushes in a set, but are often so high quality and versatile that it's a very worthwhile investment. As of scripting this, I do believe both sites allow AI-generated materials to be sold there, unfortunately, but both do require sellers to disclose the use of AI in generating those materials so that you can weed those out in your search results. You do run the risk of purchasing from sellers that violated that rule and chose not to disclose the use of AI in their materials and brush sets, but that's kind of the case everywhere these days. Gumroad is another great marketplace option that I feel like has less of that, largely because it's less corporate and more tailored to individual artists selling their brushes rather than companies licensing them. That's where Sketch sells his, and that's where a lot of artists like him do the same. I would probably recommend that as my preferred marketplace for brushes for that reason above all others, and the price range is roughly the same. CubeBrush is another option to consider, selling everything from brushes to tutorials to reference photos to full-on art courses. They're a resource that provides options for every category we've already discussed, as well as the next, which is education. So while their marketplace isn't free and includes resources that span a wide range of different prices, it's more than worth checking out too. Alright, we're done with references, we're done with brushes, let's go over the final section and close this video out with the best art education resources I know and love. If you've watched my channel before, you probably already know that I've worked with Skillshare on multiple occasions, so it's obviously going to be on this list. It's a great site with classes taught by everyone from industry professionals to individual artists and creators, designed to help you learn any creative skill that you could possibly be interested in learning, and one that I've taken, oh my god, I don't even remember how many classes on at this point, definitely more than 20. They are a regular sponsor of the channel, but they are not sponsoring this video, they're just a legitimate recommendation. Skillshare isn't free, but they regularly offer free trials via channels like mine, and membership is relatively affordable and definitely worth the money, in my opinion, given that membership gives you access to every class on the platform. Conversely, if you just want to purchase individual art classes, I would recommend Domestika. I've taken quite a few over there as well, and swear by them as a fantastic resource for artists of all kinds. Courses are incredibly affordable and cover as wide a variety of creative mediums as Skillshare, making them an excellent alternative if subscription models aren't for you. 21Draw is another online art education resource that offers a similar variety of classes, some of which are taught by big names in the art community like Loish, Jazza, and more. Their classes aren't free and are available based on a subscription membership model like Skillshare's, but given the variety and exceptionally high quality of the courses they offer, which are primarily focused on illustration and visual art specifically, you certainly get your money's worth if it's within your price range. They also do sell educational materials in the form of books and ebooks if you'd prefer one-off purchases that provide equally in-depth instructional materials, so that's something to consider as well. Mark Burnett's art school is another great option to look at, with over 30 video classes, assignments, a private Discord, a study guide, and more. And while I haven't taken it myself, I've heard wonderful things about it from those who have. The only downside is that it is really expensive, at a whopping $300, but for a full-on course led by an industry professional that includes lifetime access and updates, that may be an investment worth considering. The site you can purchase and access it on is one that I mentioned earlier, CubeBrush, and I'm bringing attention to that to reiterate how valuable of a resource CubeBrush really is, because because Mark's art course is far from the only one there. They have plenty of courses, tutorials, and educational materials alongside their reference materials and brushes that I mentioned before. So if his is out of your price range, it's likely that you will find an alternative on there that isn't if you spend some time looking. If you're looking for more personalized, guided online art education rather than solely pre-recorded courses though, I would personally recommend checking out ArtWad, an online art school with some pretty unique approaches to both learning and teaching. They have a beginner program, an advanced program, and a master program, all of which you can try for free to see which, if any, work for you before committing to their paid membership options. Their team of industry professionals teaches a wide variety of different types of artistic skills and techniques, most of which focus on illustration and design. And paid members get access to video lessons, personalized feedback and career mentorship, lessons and art workouts designed to put your understanding of what they teach to the test, private live stream feedback sessions, guest lectures, a variety of different online classrooms, and more, depending on which membership tier you choose. Their prices are relatively affordable and are available on a monthly, quarterly, and yearly basis, so you can choose the right option for you, your goals, and your budget if you experiment with their free trial and find yourself enjoying it enough to commit. For those of you hoping to make it in the art industry, you probably already know the importance of having a good portfolio. ArtProf, a resource that I mentioned earlier that provides a large collection of helpful reference images, also offers a paid portfolio critique service designed to help you begin your professional career as an artist. These consultations are quite pricey, starting at $250, but could provide some very useful insights from experienced professionals that might be well worth the money for you if you're serious about going pro. Finally, Proco also offers a ton of great art classes with both paid and free options, where you can purchase both individual lessons and whole courses depending on your preference. They vary in price, starting from the relatively affordable like $25 options to much pricier options that are in the hundreds. And while the site is primarily known for these excellent educational resources, they do also have a section where they offer tools like brushes and reference images, so that's something to check out too. But while all of these paid resources are great, I know there are a lot of you that might not be able to afford them. Honestly, I can't afford a lot of them either. So let's get into some of the free options for online art education resources too. The first is Draw-A-Box, a set of completely free drawing exercises and lessons focused on teaching the fundamentals in an applied, practical manner, designed to teach anyone and everyone a good understanding of the basics that they need to build upon as artists. You can submit your homework exercises for critique, engage with the community via their discussions page, and even access free video lessons alongside their written counterparts, all without paying a dime. That said, given the amount of work that goes into running and maintaining it, I would highly encourage you to support the creators of it on Patreon or by purchasing art tools from their affiliate links if you can and find their materials useful. Because while it's great that it's free, the people who made it free deserve compensation for that whenever possible, as far as I'm concerned. Another great free option with more of a focus on digital art is Control+Paint, a video-based resource dedicated to teaching the basics of digital art in the form of short, easy-to-consume 5-minute videos that follow a natural progression of basic to advanced topics. There are hundreds of those videos available to absolutely anyone, covering a wide variety of skills and techniques, completely free and without even ads. If you like them and want more detailed, complex resources, you do have the option to visit their store and check out their paid materials as well, although they are a bit pricey at $77 each. Finally, quite a few of the art teachers creating these paid educational resources also make free content on YouTube, like Proco, Jazza, Mark Burnett, and ArtWad. Those videos are very helpful and give you a good idea of what their paid options are like so that you can make an informed decision as to whether or not they're right for you without committing, and are honestly fantastic just as standalone educational resources too. Other very useful channels for art education include Marco Bucci, Alfonso Dunn, Naoki Saito, and Brooks Eggleston, all of whom create videos designed to teach artists of all skill levels with a variety of different specialties, and all of whom are linked in the description for you to check out. And that finally brings me to the end of what turned out to be yet another unintentionally long video. Hopefully at least a few of the resources we discussed today will end up proving useful to you guys. And you're all heavily encouraged to share your own in the comments too. I think every artist has their own hidden gem of a resource that others may not have even considered, much less utilized, and I would love if you guys shared yours here if you're comfortable doing so, as I'm sure it would help out anyone reading. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. Special thank you as always to channel members Joseph Solomon, TC Pratt, Zelda Deverak42, Abyss Reborn, Haruki Kyle, King Good James, Cutie Sailor Lovely, Inside Chaos, CP Lil Thing, and Art of Amethyst Fable, as well as patrons Batman, Kyle Lowe, Blue Swanson, Cora Fear, Jamisha Walker, Alengchi, Kim Yen, Crazy Asar, Gentong, Grayson Xavier, MG, Blah Mage, TC Pratt, Finn, Grim Spectre, Celine Merriman, Ash, Eldritria, The Stray Dog, Ulura, Greg Noble, Decagon, Jenny Chan, Captain Reku, Ryan M. Williams, Cat Bus, Alec Reinekainen, Mac, Lucy Amajiki, Selena Beebe, Pride A, Totally Shogun, Insomniac Sleep Schedule, Lola the Pinky, Wing Tang Wong, Smiley Boy, and Yosue Garnizo, and I'll see you in the next one.